evening. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Village of Vernon Hills, and we need to start with a roll call.
Commissioner Bauman?
Nope, wrong
Excuse me.
list.
I got the wrong list.
Not here.
Not here.
Excuse me. Oh, Lisa.
Want to do it from memory?
Yeah,
Just by looking at us?
I can do that. Commissioner Cotton?
Here.
Commissioner Baloo?
Present.
Commissioner Hesner?
Here.
Commissioner Heidner?
Here.
Commissioner Gorig?
Here.
Chairman Morris?
Okay, we have a quorum. All right. This evening, we have first a public hearing consideration of case 1807, an application filed by Henry Clover, representing Panda Express Incorporated, requesting approval to amend the plat of subdivision with respect to the location in the Hawthorne Village Commons Shopping Center. Okay, by agreement, the petitioner is not here since it is really a holdover from a prior meeting. We agreed that staff would simply present the petition to the commission. So, Mike.
Thank you, Chairman Morris. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered the plat of subdivision at its meeting on July 10th. Reviewed the plat, discussed it, made a motion that ultimately was approved unanimously to approve the preliminary and final plat of subdivision. Later on, after the regular meeting, during discussions and review of the minutes, it was determined that at the previous meeting, there wasn't a formal motion to continue the plat of subdivision to the meeting on July 10th. So in the name of being careful, we put a new public notice out, which was done, and it is now before you again for consideration. And again, this is for preliminary and final plat of subdivision approval.
Okay. Any questions from anyone on the commission? Okay. We sent new notices out on this one, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and we received no responses, I assume.
No responses.
Okay. Okay, since this is a public hearing, does anyone from the public wish to speak with regard to the request to amend the plat of subdivision? Okay, seeing no great rush to the podium, we can close the public hearing portion of the meeting. Any other comments from anyone on the commission? If not, we have a standing motion to recommend approval. Here would be a motion to recommend preliminary and final approval to amend the Hawthorne Village Commons plat of subdivision, subject to the conditions of 1, review and approval of the plat by the village engineer and attorney. 2, the owners providing evidence that permanent access easement is allowed over the entire property, either by covenant or restriction on the plat of subdivision. And 3, compliance with all other ordinances and standards of the village except as otherwise provided herein. We need a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion of that particular motion? Hearing none, we need a roll call.
Commissioner Gorig?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotton?
Yes.
Commissioner Hesner?
Here.
Commissioner Baloo?
Yes.
Chairman Morris?
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner?
Yes. All right. Okay. Secondly, we have consideration of case 19-08, a petition filed by Hawthorne LP requesting pursuant to the Village of Vernon Hills Code of Ordinances a special use permit to allow a restaurant serving alcohol to be known as Cafe and Wine Kiosk, located at 122 Hawthorne Center, Unit 9012, in the Center Court of Hawthorne Mall. Okay, who's going to speak with regard to this case? Okay. Anyone else? Whoever's going to speak, we might as well swear you all in at once. Please. Okay. I'm sorry.
Just stand up and
Okay.
we want to swear you in.
Okay, can you identify who everybody is first, just for the
Sure.
record? Okay.
So first of all, my name is Hal Frank. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Meltzer, Pertil, and Stell. My office is at 1515 East Woodfield Road in Schaumburg. I'm here this evening on behalf of the petitioner, which is Centennial Real Estate Company, which through a special purpose entity owns, or a few special purpose entities, owns the Hawthorne Mall. And with me this evening are Jeff Rudson, who's the mall general manager, correct?
Yep.
Sam Whitebread, whose name is all over the application. He is the vice president for tenant coordination and construction. Also, George Barth is here, just to answer any questions. He's a new hire who's been managing the facilities of the mall for only the last 45 years. So he knows the mall very well. And then finally, in the back, we have Nick and Debbie Lindsay, who are the proposed operators of the wine and beer cafe kiosk that we have before you this evening. So not everybody will speak, but everybody is here to answer any questions you might have.
So anyone that's going to speak, since this is a public hearing, we ask that you raise your right hand and swear or affirm that this testimony you're about to give before this commission of the Village of Vernon Hills shall be the truth.
I do.
Just have to say I do or yes.
I do.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay. So I thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, for this opportunity. We, as you know, are appearing before you on a request for a special use permit for this cafe kiosk, which is proposed to be internal to the center court of the mall, which is undergoing a substantial renovation and rehabilitation as we speak. It's been going on for several months, and that's why I thought that I would have Sam address you to give you a little more detail about what it is that's going on at the mall. This is literally the first phase of what we've been talking to the village about for basically a complete renovation, rehabilitation of the mall. Our client owns, through these entities I mentioned before, everything out there except the JCPenney's parcel and the Macy's parcel. Everything else is owned by Centennial, more or less. So the goal here, and again, this is what they're calling the first phase of the redevelopment, this interior center court renovation. So what they are eager to do, for reasons I'll let Sam explain, they're eager to create this cafe and wine bar in the center court of the mall. It does require special use approval. We have submitted, as you know, our facts, a project narrative, and we've submitted facts in support of why we think the standards of review for approval of the special use have been met. And so with that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Sam Whitebread, who's again going to tell you, some facts about what's going on, why, timetables, the intent behind doing this, et cetera. Thank you. Or maybe I'll turn it over to Sam and Jeff.
If it's all right, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time this evening. We're here on behalf of Centennial Real Estate to speak and answer any questions you might have about our interior mall center court renovations. The project has been under construction for some time now. We are targeting a Black Friday opening date, which we're very excited about. For anyone that's recently been to the mall, you'll look and recognize that's quite a committed effort, but we are working day and night at this point in time to make that scheduled date. As part of our center court improvements, we recognize the need and perhaps the nice offering to the community to incorporate a kiosk as one of the amenities. And in this kiosk, we had lots of discussion about how we would best serve our community and the shopping center itself. And through those conversations, it developed into a cafe of sorts, which would also have a beer and wine offering. And that's why we're here today. So we appreciate your consideration. We're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Let's walk through.
Sure.
There you go.
Oh,
Walk 'em
great.
through.
Great, thank you. What we brought with us here are some conceptual renderings, which is what we are fabricating right now. The kiosk unit itself is under construction out on the East Coast. They're packaging it up and creating it and putting it on a truck tomorrow and shipping it here. And the installation occurs over the weekend, again with the goal and the ultimate intent of opening for Black Friday. The kiosk itself, if I was just to walk you through and talk a little bit about the design, the intent is to have a light menu food offering. We have met and we understand the requirements associated with the cafe and the wine operation. As such, we've incorporated a railing or a corral of sorts to contain and to honor the requirements associated with liquor service, or wine and beer service, rather. We also have the restaurateur with us here tonight who can kind of walk through any questions there might be about the operation. Along with what you see here today. For those who haven't been to the shopping center recently, most of our finishes are installed. I would say that we are, at this point in time, probably about 70% complete, with a heavy push occurring over the next couple of weeks to again meet that Black Friday date. As we get into the design of the kiosk, I think just important to note, we partnered with a firm out of Boulder, Colorado, Stantec, who is widely respected in the shopping center industry. And through their efforts and with their partnership, we developed what we believe a first-in-class, best-in-class design for Hawthorne Mall. So with that, that'll be the last addition and rendering. With that, we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have about the use and the application.
No questions for you two. I need to talk to whoever's going to run this.
Sure.
Yeah, I was just going to say, maybe before we have questions, we can introduce you to the operators, and they can talk about the specifics about operation that may answer some of your questions,
Fair enough.
and then go for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is Nick Lindsay, who will be operating with his wife there.
How you doing? I'm Nick Lindsay. I've been a local chef for about 20 years, local business owner here for about 8 years. I brought a menu that you guys can pass around to see kind of what the menu offerings will be in the wine list. This is actually a short version.
So where have you been chefing?
So I was a chef at Park Street in Mundelein for about 10 years, and then I opened up Calzone Macaroni here at Burton House. Yeah.
Unrelated to obviously the serving of liquor,
Yeah.
where do you prepare the food?
So there is a small space in the kiosk itself that has refrigeration, cutting boards. So we plan on preparing it there.
And do you have facilities to, clean the glassware and everything?
Correct.
Right in. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, 3-compartment sink and a full glass dishwasher. Those are all washed, sanitized, things like that, yeah.
I was just
So the
curious.
area's been provisioned.
Yes. And it's mostly cold appetizers. There is one hot item, but it's all mostly assembled cold.
So that was the question I had with the
Yeah.
one hot item. You don't have any hoods, or do you have?
No,
grills?
it's going to be mac and cheese, which can be microwaved.
It's gonna be, so,
Yeah.
so it's going to be pre-prepared.
Correct.
It's going to be sitting in there, and you're just going to nuke it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of a test run. Since we own Calzone Macaroni, we thought that there would be a good opportunity to put mac and cheese in there because you're going to have a lot of kids. So that was the one choice that we chose to go with.
What's your proposed or projected distribution between the food side of the menu and the drink side of the menu in terms of?
Well, the tapas is they kind of go hand in hand with the wine. So it should be interesting to see. I know it's kind of a new concept, but when we did tapas and wine at Park Street, it was very similar. It was almost a 50-50, so a couple would come in, order a couple tapas, order a couple glasses of wine, and then move on.
But do you really anticipate people not ordering alcohol, but just ordering food? Of course, someone will.
Probably less,
Okay.
yeah,
In what I think was referred to as the corral,
yeah.
what does it seat?
I think it seats 16.
And then what does it seat in the non-corral, I guess we'll call it?
Yeah, I think there's an additional 20 seats.
Why that division and why not a bigger corral?
I think, most of Central Park is probably focused more around kids and activities and things like that, so I don't think they wanted to make it so much of a, kind of a bar type of area, so it's kind of in a, just a gathering place, if you will, with the option of having a glass of wine.
But But your business model seems to be, I mean, I'm sure some kids will eat some of these things, but it's really more of an adult menu.
Right,
And as you say, it goes with the flip side, which is the wine and the beer.
correct.
It just seems odd to me that when we look at the picture that was one of the other ones in front of you, that there's more non-alcohol space than alcohol space.
There is going to be an expanded coffee menu as well as non-alcoholic drinks that are offered. They're just not on that menu. Sodas, juices, cappuccinos, lattes, things like that as well. And we do plan on expanding the menu a little bit, but that's what we're going to start with, just to see how it's working, how much space we have, things like that.
If you look at this one,
Yeah.
which is someplace on the thing in front of you, you want to
Okay.
find it. I think it's one of the first slides. We can go back to it, if you know how to.
You can use the
I don't know how to.
clicker in front of you.
Oh, yeah.
Pick that, then hit the,
The back,
there you go.
keep going. There you go.
Okay.
This is going to sound strange, especially with the mall sitting behind you. Is this division of space something you chose for purposes of operating the business, or was chosen for you? Because it just seems to me, and I'm not a restaurant operator, so trust me in that regard, that the division is backwards. And I don't know if anybody else, what they feel.
It was not something that was chosen by me, but I think that whole area is going to be stanchioned off based on photos that I've seen. But I can't.
Oh,
Yeah.
Actually, the thing that I'm kind of gathering, or at least my thought, was I think there's going to be a lot more coffee traffic at this location than maybe the other. And the reason I say that is because in the mall, convenience is king. And if it's right in front of you, a grab and go, coffee, I just think that convenience is something that would really work here. And the rest of it, maybe people during busy times, or somebody waiting for somebody, or meeting up with someone
Yeah.
before they go someplace. I mean, or grabbing a quick bite before they go someplace. And maybe that's where that whole other business model comes to play.
see, I would agree with you, but it seems to me that given that, you almost need more of a place, I don't know, what direction is this? East, west, north, south? I can't tell. The right side, it seems like that's almost the grab and go for the takeout.
Right.
And you could expand then on the top where it says 3 feet, like almost down the entire length of the kiosk to give you more seating, so you could have more this.
Is it something that adjusts easily?
Not necessarily at this point in time, but I think to answer the question, although beer and wine is an offering of the kiosk, we never intended it for it to be a focal point. We do appreciate the idea that people sit and enjoy a glass of wine and increase the dwell time, but coffee is a very large, prominent part of the business as well, to the extent that Nick is in the process of partnering with the local coffee shop that we're pretty excited about. So we equally, and maybe slightly more so to a degree, really want to focus on the coffee offering and the daytime operation.
So when you offer the coffee, are you going to offer bakery items and things like that go along with coffee? And
Correct.
not to mention
Muffins,
the S word, but the ovens they have at Starbucks that magically make their hot breakfast products.
Yeah, we plan on doing muffins, pastries, even have a line of beignets coming in, which is kind of different.
Okay,
So
now,
that's
yeah,
kind of
that
a cool.
sort of changes it knowing that.
Right.
I mean,
Well, it almost appears like it has, when you're at the airport, there's those kiosks off to the side that you can get some of those actually very high quality things, a grab and go that gets you through the morning or the day or to your next stop. Except this has like 360-degree exposure.
yeah. I've seen these in like Bellevue, Washington, the malls there, and by Los Angeles, which I really like them because it just brings a different dynamic to a food court.
You're right, there's a certain energy associated with
Yeah.
getting people to dwell within the common area.
Yeah.
And our larger redevelopment efforts for the shopping center to bring life into that environment is this, and that's why we think it's an important amenity to our overall plan.
And if you do the beignets, I think that, obviously you're not Cafe de Monde in
Right.
New Orleans, but
Right.
you maybe can sort of develop that business, and
Right.
yeah, that's interesting.
Right.
Are
And we understand that coffee is going to be a big portion of it, so things that go with coffee are also going to be, key as well. But, we plan on having two operators, one that's, because we are going to have walk-up business, we are going to have people just grabbing stuff to go, and we are going to have people ordering coffee, and the coffee is going to be expanded, like I said, into, cappuccinos, double espressos, things like that, probably a couple weeks after we open until we get used to that. But, and putting in a couple kid-friendly things is definitely a plan as well.
Are you going to have table areas for people to sit down and have the
Yes.
coffee?
Yeah.
So, because in your drawings or the concepts, I really didn't see that part of it.
I
I mean, we see the sitting area for the alcohol,
Right.
but I don't see the sitting area for the non-alcohol.
I have a picture of that I can grab.
Because, I mean, I guess that would kind of help.
Okay.
Sure. Mike, if we approve or recommend the approval of a special use to permit alcoholic beverages at the center court kiosk, we're not approving this floor plan like we would approve a site plan, is that correct? We're just approving the use, and they could then modify this floor plan / site plan?
That's correct, yes. Yeah, I don't vote, so it's probably the regular.
So what I've just shared with you are the renderings for our center court improvements. They're conceptual representation of the actual project that is occurring in the common area right now. So it is important in understanding and having context what the larger environment looks like and what our intent is to offer to the community.
So really, you're skewed off to one side. You're not in the center of the...
That is correct. That is correct. There are some other common area public-friendly elements that we've incorporated into the design, which are somewhat of a focal point of the common area and of the center court itself. Interactive LED light pebbles. And then again, some of the seating areas that you might see with some of the soft seating arrangements, furniture and whatnot.
So how many tables do you anticipate in the non-gated area?
In the non-gated area, we have a combination of some bench seating, and then there's some patio-style tables. We've kind of gone back and forth with the idea of how appropriate the patio-style tables are and how they create or complement a park feel. So we're going to start out maybe with a lower count with the intent to add more if there's a need. We're really trying to be flexible in that design so that we can accommodate what the public would like to see and use.
It does look like it's a park-type setting, so you don't want necessarily having 30 tables there that people are going to have to climb over or navigate around.
You're
get in.
exactly right, yeah.
Which is an interesting, yeah, I like that concept, actually.
Actually, also a part of it that, I don't know if it was ever brought up, but it's all local things. So it's local coffee that's brewed here, like
Ooh.
Libertyville. Tighthead Brewing, which is local to Mundelein.
So it's Hansa?
Hansa Coffee, yeah.
Yeah.
Local chef, local, some local sourced ingredients as well. And then we're gonna have one vineyard in particular. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Valentino Wines.
Yes.
They're right in Long Grove. We're going to feature his port wine there. And, you know, and possibly during the summer months, we were looking at a sangria that's made locally in Grays Lake.
So, is this kiosk, I mean, you've obviously talked about it a great deal. You've obviously considered it. Is it going to offer you the flexibility to embrace a certain genre of food or a certain, you know, go to where the increased traffic is? Like, okay, so it's a lot of coffee. Okay, so then there's coffee and there's muffins and pastries and things like that. So you can increase that and maybe fewer salads, fewer, maybe one, whatever the meals are. Are you going to have that flexibility within that kiosk to really react to that?
I think so. I mean, the menu is very short. We plan on rotating certain items to see what works and see what works fast. A lot of these menu items are built for speed. You know, if you guys have ever been to other tapas places, you order 3 things, it's out in 3 minutes. You know, I mean, it's just very fast type of food. We've designed plateware that if somebody wants to take it to go, a top just goes right on that plate and they take it to go. So it's all pretty much set up for speed and set up for things that you don't really get in the mall. You know, tapas, you don't really see a whole lot of around here, you know, and it's a good pairing with wine.
Is there a staging area close by?
There is.
In that staging area, there's more refrigeration,
Yes,
things like that?
There's going to be 2 upright refrigerators in there specifically to back up food and beer and things like that.
That kind of answers my question.
Yeah.
Because now you have the ability to do all kinds of things.
Right.
If you have that staging area and it's close by.
Correct.
You could actually do like Italy does downtown with the different, I'm probably not pronouncing it right, charcuterie or whatever, where you've got,
Right.
I mean, because that's a perfect thing in this setting, especially with the wine.
So now that you bring that up, actually, we're working with a local meat purveyor. It's called Red Bear, and they're in Mundelein, and they do specifically meats for, you know, meat displays and things like that. So we'll be able to sell that at retail as well.
I think that would be popular.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of a cool way to
Something that's not there now.
right to tie in a lot of local flavor.
The only other question I have is this, you're not doing packaged goods sales, is that correct? So you
No.
can't go buy a
No.
bottle of wine or something like that?
So from what I understand, you could buy a bottle of wine, but it has to be open there and consumed, and then I can bag it and
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
and seal it. Yeah.
You know, showing your age.
And you have music too.
And
Anything else?
I think like glassware, if that was a concern, you know, any glassware is going to be contained kind of at the bar area, and anybody going outside that area is all going to be plastic, you know, see-through type of cups, so you know what they're drinking.
And it's all ordered at the bar, it's not
Correct.
like waiter or waitress service?
Correct. They have to walk up so we can card them, and then yeah.
Okay, all right, any other questions? All right, anything else you want to add, either
don't
of you
think
or
so.
anyone else? Okay, this is a public hearing, so once again, we ask if anyone from the public would like to comment with respect to the request for a special use permit to allow for the operation of cafe kiosk at the Hawthorne Mall Center Court to serve alcoholic beverages. Okay, once again, no one is commenting, so we can close the public hearing section. We note that we did receive the section 18.3 standards and descriptions with regard to this particular special use. Also, the required public hearing notices were sent out, and we have no response to any of the letters received. So unless there's anything else by the petitioner or the commission, we have a motion to recommend approval of a special use permit for Hawthorne Mall to serve alcoholic beverages in the center court kiosk, subject to the conditions of 1, or A, receipt of a liquor license from the village's Liquor and License Committee, B, receipt of all required licenses from the Village and Lake County Health Department prior to final certificate of occupancy, C, Well, it says compliance with the color renderings and plans titled 60 and 21 Cafe and Wine Bar consisting of 4 pages. Is that actually a recommendation? Because then we are approving effectively a mini site plan.
Yeah, it is a recommendation. Yeah, and it's, we can,
So if they wanted to expand the corral area, they have to come back to modify the special use?
well, that's a recommendation as a condition, and we might want to add on there that if they wanted to expand the corral, that they go back, by the way, this will go before the Liquor License Commission for a liquor license, and they typically look for these kind of enclosures for outdoor patios and such. So I would suggest adding on to that a condition that if they were to expand the corral, they need to go back before the Liquor and Licensing Commission to have that approved.
That's a good idea.
Is that okay?
Okay, let's add that. Okay? Is that from the petitioner? Okay. D, the decorative fence planter creating a partitioned area shall remain in place at all times alcoholic liquor is being served or consumed. Sounds like it's pretty permanent in any event. E, no customer will be permitted to leave the partitioned area designated for drinking. Well, once again, while in possession of alcoholic beverages, but you can take, if you order a bottle of wine, the remainder with you.
We could amend that by saying, except as permitted by state statute for properly sealed containers.
Okay. They're good too?
I have one maybe addition.
Sure.
That they mentioned that there'd be 2 people there. That there always be at least one person there when there is someone there consuming alcohol. In other words, there is a close by staging area.
So it's not unattended.
So it's so that it's not unattended.
Okay. So let's do F first, then we'll make that G. F is signs shall be placed at the cafe counter and at gates of the partition area, notifying customers that consumption of alcohol is restricted to that area. And then G we're adding is that if anyone is consuming alcohol at the kiosk, it has to be manned with personnel, or how you
Yeah,
want to phrase it?
there has to be someone there.
Right. So we're adding that as.
Not to be left unattended.
Either
Right.
not be left
When someone's consuming alcohol on the premise there.
Right.
Understood.
Can we'll say a Bassett-trained employee on
Yeah.
premise at all times? Is that okay?
Yeah. It's in our ordinance anyways, isn't it?
I mean, coffee, it doesn't matter, but,
Okay,
I don't know.
because you never know what could get passed on
Right.
to someone.
absolutely, agreed.
So you made the other 2 changes and then added that one, right? Okay, any comments? Okay, we need a second for that motion with now A through G as conditions.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, we need a roll call.
Commissioner Cotton,
Yes.
Commissioner Hesner,
Yes.
Commissioner Baloo,
Yes.
Commissioner Heidner,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorig,
Yes.
Chairman Morris.
Yes. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you, appreciate it.
okay, and they go
Good luck.
back to the village board in time for Black Friday?
Yeah, we are, it'll be on the village's, under new business for the November 19th meeting, which is next week. And then the Liquor and Licensing Commission will immediately follow that meeting for their liquor license.
Okay, all right, so good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Any development review we need to discuss?
I'll give you an update if you guys like that.
Updates are nice.
Sure. Yeah.
Excuse me just a moment, I want to make sure I get it right here.
Quick menu?
That's why I said pass. You're okay with that, right?
Thank you.
Sorry, Drew.
Right, it was just in case.
Got that. Septic is modified. Liquor and License Commission. And. Approved seal. Per state statute. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we're good. Updates, Some of the things we have in the queue is, one of them is the Gardner School. They're proposed at the location, at the intersection of Deer Path and Lakeview Parkway, the former PNC property. That requires a special use because it's located in an OR&D zone district. We're in round 2 of technical review, so a public hearing will probably be coming up, if not in December, then in January sometime. That should be the next one that you guys see.
What kind of establishment?
It's Gardner School, it's daycare facility.
Daycare.
Here, I'll save Hawthorne for last. Another one we have, we just completed the second review for Hawthorne Middle School North. They're going to be doing 3 additions. There's a gymnasium addition, and then 2 two-story classroom additions. This all fits within that referendum that they had approved within a year ago, the $40 million one. This is part of that. The Darling Farm, I think, if you guys aren't aware, I think you are, but that's that 50-acre blank piece of land that's kind of surrounded by corporate woods. That's been listed by Cushman Wakefield over the last 6 or 8 months. They have a contract with Panattoni Development to do a light industrial project that would fit the current zoning, which is BP Business Park, and is consistent with what's recommended by a study that was recently conducted by Malanaphy and Associates. It would be, they'd spec up buildings, about 800,000 square feet worth of them. They'd be taller height, single story, but taller height buildings that they say meet current market conditions, loading docks on the rear, and very flexible in the way the buildings will be designed. So you could have a single user in one building, you could have 6 users, 4 users, and they think this meets current market demand. And from what we're hearing from others, staff agrees with them, so we think this has the potential to be a successful project. Yeah, Mrs. Darling passed away, I think she was 103, and it was left to her 80-some-year-old daughter and son, and also part of the inheritances were the grandchildren. So the gentleman from Cushman Wakefield was very diligent in getting all the parties organized, finding the grandchildren, finding everyone, and he did it. And also part of the development is creating a link, a north-south leg that would link up from Forest Edge Drive up to Corporate Woods that will give access to 2 different signalized intersections. They have an agreement in place verbally with Corporate Woods, Chuck Lamfair, and they are now finishing up that contract. Once we're sure that contract is in place, then we'll proceed with technical review. Yeah, I'm not sure what the cost was for the land, but they came to terms. So it's exciting. That one's going to move fast, I think. So we'll be seeing that sometime.
Don't
maybe
we have a lot of vacancy in that type of?
Well, the product in Corporate Woods is not what they're building, which is, those were built at a time when singular users were contemplated, and with a lot of them have interior enclosed loading docks, and the buildings aren't arranged in a way that meets today's what's being demanded today. It's funny, there's a property at 888 Forest Edge Drive that's been vacant for years. They want to tear it down and build a building that's smaller but similar to these, So, in any case, so that.
People want the height.
Yeah. And they want to come in and they want to lease and they want a certain amount of space, so the people that own these buildings want it flexible enough so, they could go ahead and give them the space they want and put the demising walls where they need to be with not too much renovation to the building to do that. So, and now Hawthorne Mall, there's different phases to the project. The first phase that you'll see, and they're getting their application ready for a public hearing now, is for the 3-lot subdivision along Milwaukee Avenue. Those are all geared toward restaurant users. They already have one sign. They're not willing to announce it, but it's a steak place on the level, some say above Ruth Chris. It's not Ruth Chris, but it's that high level. So that one you're going to see first. The second phase is going to be the Sears parcel. They're going to tear down Sears, of course, and they're going to create a drive-in corridor so that if you're driving there from the access drive off of Milwaukee Avenue near Denny's, the boulevard will lead in, and you'll see mixed use on each side of restaurant, retail. Above that will be apartments, residential, 2 stories of those. Then those apartments will extend around a parking core that'll be behind the mixed use, the retail restaurant mixed use. Immediately adjacent to the mall, in the area where Carson's currently is, will be an open space element. We've been meeting with them a number of times. We're finally off of the concept review, and their engineers, Kimley Horn, and their architects, KDGY out of Chicago, have now been released to do full set of working drawings for engineering, and then architectural drawings to the extent needed for public hearing and board approval. So not full set of working drawings, but fairly complete drawings, floor plans, siting, and all that. Phase 1 is the portion north of the boulevard, including all of the residential, and that portion south of the boulevard that includes retail on the first floor, residential, 2 stories of residential above it. They won't, phase 2 is completing the residential around another parking core. They're not sure if that part will be market rate rental, which is like what the Atworth is, or if they might want to market that towards luxury senior apartments. They're still figuring out that element of it. Also, will be the redevelopment of the Carsons, which is tearing that down. I can tell you that one of the users they have lined up is Benny's, and then they have a 74,000 square foot space that they said in last week's meeting. They can tell us who that'll be at our next meeting, which is going to be next week. So I don't know. We'll see. They're very reluctant to want to give us names, but when you see something that big, it makes you. I mean, I think like Von Mar or something along those lines. I asked them if it was Von Mar, and they said not. It was not, but it's a larger user. So that's what's going on with them all. They're also proposing 2 small outlets along Town Line Road. One of the end users might be a mattress store. It might not. Yeah, and it's what is it? Comforts Sleep, and I know. And I said, well, be prepared. You're going to get a lot of questions about mattresses. So, and why that type of store. They have that lined up. So. That's what we have going on with the mall. And you saw what they're doing with the center court, and it's important for them to get open by the time Black Friday comes, because it's part of their overall message of, hey, we're not a dying mall. We're reinventing ourselves, and we're going to be here for a while. So the center court will give you an idea of the design theme that they want to carry throughout all of the interior mall moving forward. So a lot going on there. Another project that's in the concept stage is a water reservoir project that's going to be adjacent to the treatment facility east of Vernon Hills High School. That land is actually in an unincorporated south. I'm sorry. That land is actually in unincorporated Lake County. This project will be partially on that land, partially on land that's within the village of Vernon Hills. So it'll go through a full public hearing process here through the village. I know who the designer is on the architectural team. You guys may not. You guys may know who he is as well. He might be sitting to my right. So that's an interesting project. Now, what's really interesting about that project? It was originally contemplated to be next to a tract of land that the county controls that's next to the carriages. So they would have a view of this. Not that it's, you could design it in a way that really minimizes its impact, but it would be immediately adjacent to a residential use. This is an alternate location they found, which from at least staff's perspective it's a great location compared to other options. So that's a general overview of what's going on. You'll notice the gas station across the street, they will be putting new islands and gas fueling pumps in there. I remember that coming up at the, and they're new owners, and it's a franchise, so there's a certain amount of money they have to work with. They've been great to work with, step by step, improving the property. So.
The Darlene Farms, what school districts is that?
That is Stevenson High School and Diamond Lake Elementary.
Diamond.
or, no, and Stephen, yeah,
Lincolnshire.
thank you, yeah. Yeah, they love us because we build these things in Corporate Woods and now Darling Farm. We don't build any homes, so it doesn't generate any students. We just developments that generate property tax revenue, so it's,
You weren't happy with the Oaks.
yeah. No, not a fan.
And how about the Old Friday?
That Jameson's Char House, they were hoping, they're behind schedule. They were hoping to open in November.
They're hiring, I see. I think
Yeah.
there's a sign out
I-
that says they're hiring.
Yeah, I think, I don't think they're gonna make the Thanksgiving holiday. I think they're looking more like December, but, yeah, that'll be a nice addition, you know? I'm sorry, which place?
No,
The ramen place?
there's been
Oh,
Where
ramen,
Silverberg's used to be.
ramen house should, if it's, I thought it was open, then it's very close to the CO then.
Okay. Anything else? All right. We have the minutes of the July 10th meeting. Any comments on them? If not, with a motion to approve, need a second?
I'll second.
We can use by acclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. If there's nothing else, we have a motion to adjourn. We need a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are adjourned. Good night.